and I challenge you to try the same thing at home and see what happens. In the last episode, I created and produced a song under time pressure. So in this video, I'm going to show you how I mixed this song in under 60 minutes. It's actually a really good exercise that teaches you to connect with your gut rather than your brain, and it also forces you to think less and to go with the flow more. So I'm sitting here with a session, and if you want to watch the first episode in this series, I put a link in description below. And for this video, I wanted to focus on the drums, bass, vocal, and the mix bus, because that's where most of the sound shaping was taking place. So let's start with the drums. And for these tracks, I actually didn't do that much, but I added quite a drastic pumper effect on one of the beats, on beat number 1, but also a Fairchild 660, not wanting to really compress it too much, but just to give it a bit of tube compressor excitement. And usually we use the kick drum to pump other instruments using a sidechain. But in this case, I wanted to sort of pump the drums themselves up and down in rhythm to get even more of a bouncy feel. And for the bass, my reference was something like Mean Mr. Mustard by the Beatles. You know, something really distorted and compressed. So the first plugin I was reaching for was the RS-124 compressor from Waves, which is an Abbey Road plugin used on Beatles records a lot. And it gives you that really cool retro compressed bass sound. And to get even more of that kind of tone, I then sent it into a Fairchild as well. But the main plugin that I used for this bass track was a distortion plugin called Little Tube by Waves. And for the vocal sound, I kind of did it in 2 parts because I wanted to have one copy of the vocal that was more clean or less processed, but it still has a lot of filter on it. And the other one I wanted to send through an Ovox plugin to get that kind of harmonizer effect. And I have to mention that both vocal tracks are the same vocal, just different treatments. So for the first treatment, I mainly used a plugin called the King's Microphone. And it's a really cool plugin for filtering stuff to make it sound like it was recorded in the 1940s or something. And it's really simple and fun to use because you can use different microphones from those days and get different tones. The other significant plugins for this track was the Zener limiter, and it gives quite a nice vintage kind of compression. And I also used the Abbey Road saturator again. You are a weirdo, I am a weirdo too. That's what makes us. And I usually just open the saturator and use it just the way it is, and it sounds great. So for the second part of this vocal, I used Ovox as the main plugin. And the goal with this plugin was to create a kind of a harmonizer effect. Even though it sounds like a lot of voices, it's actually just one voice being harmonized. And the thing about mixing this fast is that you literally fly through the mix. And when I got to this plugin, I didn't have much time left, so I was literally fiddling with it for a couple of minutes, quite randomly, until it sounded cool, and that was it. But if you want me to do a video about this specific plugin in more depth, please let me know by leaving a comment below. And also, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button. And for the stereo bus, I actually used quite a few different plugins, but most of them were not used much. And the main tone shaper here is the Abbey Road vinyl player. And this specific plugin is really cool for shaping the sound and giving you a bit more mid-range kind of dirt. And I actually didn't do much to this plugin, apart from making sure that I was slamming the input, because I was purposely trying to overload the input amplifier to get some grit and dirt from this vinyl plugin. If you want to hear the final version of the song, the final mix, I've added that in the description below. And if you like this channel, you will definitely like my community called Studio T-Break. And as a member, you get access to monthly hangouts, exclusive content, and a really supportive community. And of course, I'm there myself every day, answering questions and taking part in discussions.